So here is a C function. In that C function, I can now, for example, write a local variable x, and I can refer to the argument. Not surprising, this is a reference to the argument. I can add y, but y doesn't exist yet. So let's create a local variable, int8 y, and of course y is still unbound, but I can press F5 to automatically bind it. This is really nice because it allows me, in the past I had to explicitly go to the reference to the y and explicitly rebind it. Now it works automatically. For example, if I notice that y shouldn't actually be a local variable, but instead it should be an argument, I can just change it and rebind. And similarly with a global variable. I can even call, for example, a function f, which doesn't exist yet, and I can either create f and rebind, or if I have g, I can even use this little quick fix here and create the function g and bind it. It wasn't able to figure out the type because, of course, this was void. So let's make this an int8 and make this an int8 as well. Makes a little bit more sense. And now what we have here is, of course, arg plus y times f plus g. And because of how the operator binding rules work, this binds more tightly. So it's arg plus y times f plus g. Now, if I wanted to first add arg plus y, how do I do that? Well, in a text editor and now in MPS, I just go here and put in the parentheses and everything is fine. So you can easily restructure things in that way. You can even also press delete to remove the parentheses again. So the editing experience becomes much more like text editors, and that is really important to remove the obstacle for people to adopt tools like MPS projectional editors. Now, you could say, why should I care? If it becomes more and more like a text editor, why don't I just use a text editor? Well, let me show you a few things. If you, for example, pass an array here, so let's say we pass an array and we pass its length, because of course in C we don't have the array length part of the array. And now we maybe want to sum this up, right? So we change this to an int8 and call this array sum. Then we can, for example, do it this way. We can return, and now we can directly use a sum expression starting from I, from 0 to L, array I. So this is pretty cool. We can use a sum expression directly in the editor. Or let's use another example. Let's say we have a function that needs to make some kind of decision, and it takes one argument, let's say altitude, and an argument speed, and now we wanted to return some value based on combinations of altitude and speed, and we can directly include a decision table where we say if altitude is greater 100, then we do that. If altitude is greater 200, and here we do speed is greater 50 and speed is greater 100, and so we return, let's say 10 if those two conditions meet, 20 in this case, 30 in that case, 40 in that case, and in any other case we return 0. And of course now we have directly embedded a table into our little C program. And of course, what I talked about before, some variable, the binding still also works, right? I can create my sum variable and do the rebinding. Of course, I shouldn't have the space here. Now it works. And so in this way, you can see how flexible the syntax is. And, just to demonstrate, I could have the sum right here. But I can still have editing experiences almost like in a textual editor, I would say close enough to make editing really quite convenient. So all of this is upcoming in MPS 3.1. This was a little preview.